You see a sign that says outlet mall or factory store, and you may expect to find designer bags at prices that are way marked down, or slightly damaged furniture that could be sold in a regular store, or leftover fashions from last season being offered at steep discounts. I hate to disappoint you, but that's not always the case. Checkbook investigated 40 brands that operate off-price stores, and we found that many offer lower quality merchandise, not legitimate bargains. So what gives? I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, a contributing editor at Checkbook.org.
Welcome to Consumerpedia at Checkbook.org. We're the nonprofit that helps consumers select services, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on Checkbook.org to be completely independent and objective. Now, here's the host of Consumerpedia, America's consumer expert, the Consumer Man, Herb Weisbaum.
In this episode, what you can expect to find when you go shopping at outlet stores, factory stores, or clearance centers, how you can tell what's a bargain and what's not, plus some money-saving shopping tips. Here to talk about all that is a member of the Checkbook team who lives to shop and who really enjoys finding a true bargain, Checkbook's content director, Jen Barger, who's joining us from Checkbook headquarters back in Washington, D.C. Hi there, Jen.
Hi, how are you today? Have you been shopping?
Not yet. Have to get all the advice from you first.
You may not want to after you hear what I have to say.
All right, well, we'll see. So, outlet stores started as a way for retailers to sell leftover or outdated merchandise in their regular stores. I've gone to ones. That's the headset that I'm wearing right now that I'm talking to you with. I got at a Sony outlet store that was half price, the original price, because someone had bought it, returned it. So I got a great deal and it's been wonderful, but that's not always what you'll find at outlet malls.
Well, yeah, and I think what's surprising is it's about half and half. Some of the outlets still do sell things that are factory seconds, or maybe what you found, which is known as an open box. But a lot of them manufacture goods just for the outlet. It's particularly prevalent in what I would call mid-priced mall brands. And these are the Banana Republics, the J. Crews, and the Gaps of the world. So primarily in clothing. And what'll happen is you might see, say, a pair of shoes that have a plastic sole, not a leather one. You'll see bags that are made of bonded leather. Bonded leather is basically leather that's lined with plastic, not lined with cloth. One particular tell is you'll see, say, a men's jacket at regular Banana Republic might be 100% linen and fully lined, whereas if you get one at the outlet, it will be maybe a linen and synthetic blend, and it won't be fully lined. So you're getting what you pay for.
So do companies tell customers the merchandise in their outlet stores is different from what they'd find in the regular store?
Not really. We actually emailed 40 of these big brands and asked them for clarification on what it was they were carrying at their outlet stores. And only one of them got back to us, and it was a pretty confusing answer. So I think that what they're trying to do is protect their brand integrity, for lack of a better, that's very marketing speak. But I think they don't want people to think they're getting a lesser product at the outlet, but they are.
So you and 3 other members of the Checkbook team spent 3 months visiting outlet stores. What an assignment for a person who loves to shop like you. Visiting outlet stores, factory stores, and clearance centers representing dozens of big-name brands from Adidas to Zales. What were you looking for? And then tell us what you found.
Well, we were trying to figure out if by visiting these places in person, if we could figure out what the PR people or what the corporate offices wouldn't tell us. And an interesting thing that we found out is that if you ask the people who are working at the outlet or factory store, they'll tell you 9 times out of 10. If you go in and you say, hey, is this stuff all made for the outlet? They'll say yes or no. Our breakdown of those 40 stores was about half and half. About half of those stores manufacture either all or most of the things that they carry at their outlet or factory stores, specifically for the factory or outlet store. And in most cases, you won't even find anything that's been at, say, regular Banana Republic or regular Bloomingdale's at the outlets for those two brands.
I remember when Nordstrom first launched Nordstrom Rack, and they had the items from the regular Nordstrom store, so I would see the Joseph Abboud sports coats that I'd have to pay $860 for to wear when I was on TV that were available for like $300. They were really genuine bargains on designer goods back then.
But now Nordstrom Rack was one of our kind of mixed result places because Nordstrom Rack does still have some things that come from regular Nordstrom mixed in with things that are either manufactured for the rack or are these sort of, I think of them as ghost brands. In particular, there's a women's brand called Max Studio, and it used to be kind of a fancy brand. I think it was French, and they had stores, but now the only place you see it is Nordstrom Rack, Bloomingdale's Rack. Maybe you see it at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. The stuff is fine, but they carry these tags that is another big tell we're going to talk about that say manufacturer's suggested resale price or MRSP. It'll say $75, but it'll be marked to $30, and that doesn't mean anything. It's a $30 dress. It never cost $75 anywhere.
So as you explained in your checkbook story, which, by the way, listeners, is available at checkbook.org, outlet stores for clothing became so popular with people looking to save money that retailers didn't have enough leftover merchandise to stock them with. So to have enough stores or to increase the volume of stores, they had to turn to this other merchandise.
They did. And I think one of the really interesting things that we discovered while we were doing this is that in many cases, there are significantly more outlet stores for a given brand than there are regular stores. So, for instance, there are 93 regular Nordstroms and there are 300 Nordstrom Racks. So you can't tell me that everything at Nordstrom Rack was once at a Nordstrom store because the math just doesn't add up. And we found similar things for J. Crew, Ann Taylor, Banana Republic. They're operating more quote-unquote off-price stores than regular price stores.
So some people believe that retailers are being deceptive by doing this. There have even been lawsuits about that. Based on your shopping trips, what do you think?
I do think it's a little deceptive because I think that in some cases, these brands are just labeling, like, for instance, two that we found that didn't really have any difference in how they labeled, the label inside, say, a shirt or a shoe. The labels weren't any different at the outlet than they were at the regular store, but yet we had confirmation from the people that worked in these outlets that these were specifically made for outlet garments or shoes. That seems deceptive to me. Some stores are labeling things a bit more clearly. There's both J. Crew and Talbot's and some other stores like that. They don't necessarily say outlet on their tag, but it'll be J. Crew and it'll have 2 diamonds underneath it. So that's the if you know, you know. But it's not blatant. It doesn't say J. Crew outlet on the interior label. So I worry about people that aren't super shopping savvy or even, tomorrow's shoppers like teenagers and things. I think it's confusing.
Are there ways to distinguish the items made specifically for outlet stores other than asking the salesperson, the shirts I'm looking at or the bags I'm looking at, did they come from the store?
I mean, honestly, that's my favorite way to do it. There are hacks. We discovered one about Brooks Brothers. There are some, and in the article, you'll also read some different, very minute differences in the labeling of bags from both Coach and Kate Spade. Both have very subtly different ways that they put the logos on the outside of the bags. But those do tend to switch, so it's not a cut and dried thing. One of the things to really be aware of is that manufactured suggested retail price. If you see that and you don't see a sticker over it, like a red line, old-fashioned red line sticker, or you don't see that maybe there's an original Nordstrom department store tag, then that's a warning sign. Because just like online, it's just like Amazon. It'll say, oh, this book, the price is $40, but we're selling it to you for $29. Probably no one is ever paying $40 for that book. And it's the same with that men's shirt at Nordstrom Rack, as long as it's a made for the rack shirt.
So I got to ask you this. In today's economy, people want and need to save money on clothing. And if the designer merchandise in the outlet store is a little lower quality, but dramatically cheaper, they're fine with it. As long as you know what you're getting, maybe you're okay with a shirt that doesn't have double stitching, only has single stitching, or the purse that has a logo on the outside, not the inside, or whatever. There is a place for these products that are sold at these stores.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think in here we don't say that outlet stores are inherently bad. I wish that they would be clearer in how they're labeling things. I wish that the stores would be more honest, because occasionally you'll find something buried deep in their terms and conditions. Even and I'm a big shopper, even I wasn't quite clear on how pervasive it is that they're just making different stuff for the outlets. What we did find in this research project, because half of these stores were legit outlets. Now, the categories were the home design or home decor or kind of kitchenware stores, particularly big places like Pottery Barn or RH, which is what Restoration Hardware goes by now. Those places, they are genuine outlets. What they have are usually floor model sofas or maybe last season's table napkins, and you can get deals there. The sofas at Restoration Hardware or RH are their floor models, and they might have a scuff on them. I did see some pretty damaged dressers, but they were significantly cheaper than if you went to RH at the mall. But again, it is you get what you pay for. If you want a slightly marked up white sofa, you can go to RH and get one, but it's still going to be several $1,000s.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that if you go to an outlet store and there are Calvin Klein shirts that were made specifically for the outlet store and were never sold in the store, they're going to want to protect their brand. They're not going to make lousy merchandise. Odds are you're still going to get something fairly good, even if it's not something that was sold in the store. Am I right with that?
I mean, I think for me to answer that truly honestly, we'd have to be like Consumer Reports or the New York Times and testing things in a lab. I think there are some perfectly fine things at outlets that are made for the outlet. I just think you have to learn to recognize quality. You have to look at the seams. You have to try the shoes on and walk around a bit, kind of just logical stuff. But I think it's just, don't convince yourself you're getting a deal at the outlet. What you're getting is something that is cheaper and probably lower quality. And that's also just fine. It's just I don't feel like it's represented correctly.
Are their return policies fairly liberal as the return policies are at the big retail store?
If it is a genuine outlet or clearance center, of which there are some to many, depending on the brand category, then they often, all sales are final. But at a place where it's, say, a J.Crew factory store, where that is an entirely different set of merchandise, their return policies are, you bought this at the J.Crew factory or you bought it at J.Crew factory online, you can definitely return it. Can you return it to a J.Crew store? No. And vice versa. You can't, return your regular J.Crew store chinos to the J.Crew outlet. That's another tell that these are the same company, but they're not selling the same stuff. The return policy indicates that.
Hey, we're not done yet. Jen has more money to spend. So up next, she's going to share more about what she found on her shopping trips, including where you're most likely to find leftover merchandise from retail stores that's been marked down. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, and this is Consumerpedia, powered by Checkbook.org.
At Checkbook.org, we have the answers to your consumer questions 24/7. That's Checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that can help you with select local service providers, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on Checkbook to be completely independent and objective. Our advice is always free. Ratings of local services are available with a subscription. If you live in one of these 7 metro areas and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Washington, D.C. Get your free 30-day subscription by going to checkbook.org/Consumerpedia.
Jen, before I get back to your shopping experience, I want to share a personal story with you. I did this story for local TV here in Seattle, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that. And for TV, I needed pictures. It wasn't a digital story or a print story. So we actually had to buy the merchandise and then we compared it to what was in the store. And then when we were all done with the story, the boss said, "All right, take it all back. I'm not going to pay for this." So my poor wife had to go with me to the stores and return all the merchandise.
Yeah, that's not uncommon in fashion. When I used to be in fashion, we would occasionally do that. We would keep it clean. We didn't smudge up the shirt we took back, but we did sometimes buy and return things.
Right. So I've had my experience with outlet stores. I want to dig a little bit deeper into what you found from your shopping trips and help people know who's selling what. So let's start with the stores that you found sell only or mostly made for outlet goods.
That is mainly the home decor stores like the RH, aka Restoration Hardware Outlet, Pottery Barn, Williams-Sonoma. Generally these places that have, big furniture or big mirrors or things like that, they'll have floor models or they'll have last year's giant couch, and that's not exactly easy to get rid of. So they do have outlets where there are deals, but again, it might be a slightly marked up sofa. It might be a mirror with a crack in the frame. So you're getting deals, but they might be from like the scratch and dent section of an appliance store. And the other thing that was interesting and kind of surprising is the higher up the totem pole the brand is, and this we're talking about even shoes and fashion, is the higher up the totem pole, the more likely that outlet is actually a real outlet. And one that impressed me was Burberry. Everything at the Burberry store, at least according to this very smart seeming manager, everything there is the same stuff that you would get at a Burberry store in New York or wherever else they have Burberry stores. It's just that it's past season, maybe a couple past seasons, it'll be probably up to 75% marked down. But, is a $250 plaid button-down what most people want to be paying for a button-down? Maybe not. But when it costs $700 or $800 or $900 in the store, then it's technically a bargain for what you're getting.
And who cares if it's last season? It's a big deal.
A Burberry plaid is a Burberry plaid.
That's correct. All right. You put together some tips for outlet shoppers, and I want to run through them because they're really good. So let's start with number one. Try to time purchases for when real deals are offered. What do you mean by that?
Sometimes, even though we've done a lot of reporting on fake sales here, sometimes it's the end of the season. And when there is an actual red sticker on something or it says final sale, most of the time that means you're getting a real deal. But I think I would personally rather get that at a regular store than at the outlet because I would just be more sure of what I'm getting.
Tip number two is know which stores offer only made for outlet merchandise. You have a huge list, by the way, attached to the story at the bottom of the story on checkbook.org that goes through some of the major outlets. But what kind of tip can you give us for this?
Well, one of the things I could tell you for that is, again, those mid-priced mall brands that sell clothing, that is mainly going to be made for the outlet. But there is one trick. You can look for the word clearance center. And now that is not a very common term. But for instance, we found that Talbots and Chico's are two, middle of the road women's brands, and they do still operate clearance centers in addition to their outlets. So that makes it extra confusing. But if you really want to bargain, look for something that says clearance center, and then you'll know that what you're getting there is real store stuff that is quite marked down.
Tip number three, don't believe tags with compare at, MSRP, or the regular price crossed out.
Yeah, again, you almost want to go back to the early 20th century and like stuff where there's a red sticker, stuff where there is even if somebody's used a pin to mark it down, that's probably a sign that it's from the real store and is a genuine markdown on regular stuff.
But if the price tag is printed with regular price or MSRP crossed out already on the tag, it's printed that way, and then the lower price, odds are that it never sold at the regular price.
Yeah, that's just a marketing gimmick. It's almost like suggested price. Well, the suggested price is not a price that it ever would sell at.
And as we've discussed many times on this podcast before, this is not just with outlet stores. This is all across the board with all retail. This is a common trick to make you think you're getting a deal when you're not getting a deal.
Yeah, we all want to feel like we're getting a deal. Like I always say, you usually get what you pay for.
We're at tip number 4 on our way to 8. Number 4 is know your brand.
Well, yeah, and it was interesting because I buy some Tory Burch, like a lot of women in America. And at their outlet, I have several pairs of Tory Burch shoes. They usually have leather soles. They usually are very soft leather. They're usually a nice product. At the outlet, the shoes were leather, but the soles were plastic. And I was kind of like, those don't look like the Tory Burch flats that I have. And so I think the better you know the brand, the more likely you are to be able to tell if, hey, that's a markdown from the regular store, or that's not a deal at all. That's just a cheaper piece of merchandise.
Tip number 5, learn to identify quality.
I think in the fashion world now, people talk a lot about buying secondhand. And so that's actually a way that I recommend people learn about quality, is to maybe buy a few things by a brand that you dream of owning secondhand and see how they wear, see how they feel, examine how they're constructed. And that'll give you a really good idea of what to look for when you're out shopping. And I think it's things like, are the seams finished? Or if you turn it on the inside out, is it a raggedy inside seam? Are the soles glued on, or are they sewn on if it's shoes? So I think some basic things like that, and fabric content is a huge one, because the more synthetics are in a garment, then the more likely it is to be manufactured for the outlet. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a pretty good one.
Tip number 6, at stores offering real deals, expect to find limited sizes, maybe slightly damaged goods, and restrictive return policies.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because one of the weirdest things we discovered in this whole study was that Anthropologie, which is the same parent company as Urban Outfitters, Free People, and then the rental clothing brand Nuuly, that they operate outlets both for home, and then they operate these stores called Reclectic or Re-Eclectic that are clothing outlets, and they are genuinely selling past season or overstock from all those stores. But what they're also selling is used rental clothing. So, it's a rental, say this dress has been on their rental service for, 15 weddings. I guess they dry clean it and they put it back on the rack and they sell it very cheaply. Is it a bargain? Maybe. But so that's a perfect example. And you'll also, into a genuine outlet, you'll walk in and you won't necessarily be able to find the shoes that you spot in your size or the shirt that you like in the pattern that you want. So I think that the size runs are limited. The stock is limited. There might even just be one of something.
When I was buying those sport coats for TV and I went to the rack, I would find I was a 40 regular, and all I could find in the jacket that I wanted was like a 45 large or extra long. So that's why I had to shop at the regular store, because by the time you get to what's left over from the store, it's very limited and a lot of weird sizes that you might not, in the shoes, 14 double wide or whatever, when I'm a 10.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I mean, it was interesting because one store, Talbot's outlet, strangely, they had mostly made for Talbot stuff, but they did have a very clearly identified rack of regular Talbot store stuff. And you could tell both because the interior labels were different, but also I was like, oh, this is a cute jacket. I might buy it. And they had a size 2 and a size 14. And so I'm kind of a medium-sized person, and either worked for me. And that's a perfect example of an outlet. I would have bought it if it was in my size.
Tip number 7, which may seem obvious, but it's important even if you're shopping in an outlet mall, is compare prices.
Yeah, and I think that thanks to our smartphones, we can do that very easily. So I think look up the item you're looking at, see if you can find it at the regular store. And particularly when you're doing something like shopping at a Nordstrom rack or Bloomingdale's outlet, look the item up. It'll often have, the name of whatever the blouse is, the Ada blouse, and look it up and see. You might actually find that you can get a better deal or the same deal at the regular store, or sometimes you'll even turn it up cheaper at another retailer. So we now have a tool in our pockets that means we don't have to just jump on a price.
And tip number 8, check for coupons. These stores do offer coupons sometimes.
Yeah, and those will generally be, you have to, if it's at the outlet mall, there might be a coupon book that you can get if you go to the central mall office. It's usually by the food court. Or sometimes there are online coupons, and they're almost the same kind of deals, quote unquote, that you get if you sign up for a mailing list. Mm-hmm. You might be able to get a little bit extra off.
Do they still have specials like every Monday, every blue tag is 10% off or something like that? Do they still run those kind of deals?
Many of the places we went to, they seem to be running 50% off sales all the time. And I think that that's a thing. So you think, oh, look, this is a $100 sweater. I'm getting it for $50, but it's not a sweater that ever cost $100. So, right. But I didn't see any of that, but you never know.
So before we go, were there a few outlet stores that you really liked and would like to recommend to our listeners?
Well, I think that the Anthro outlets, the Reclectic and the Anthro Home, and home outlets in general, I think those are worth checking out. I mean, at least because you are getting, whether you want that slightly dinged up dresser or slightly used dress, you are getting real markdowns there. The overall winner of this whole thing, and now I'm going to say this and they'll close it, but there is an Athleta outlet at the Leesburg premium outlets that I visited, and they were telling me it's one of like only 4 outlets in the entire chain of that athletic wear brand, and it operates as a clearance center and a regular store. And I was getting stuff for like 75% off there, like, yoga leggings for $20, which is a good deal for nice yoga leggings. And so it was really good. But now again, I wanted them in bright purple. Couldn't get them in bright purple. Had to settle for a gray in my size. But that Athleta store was fantastic. And some of the higher end ones. I'm still dreaming about that $250 shirt I saw at Burberry. I didn't get it, but I was very tempted.
So for those who are online shoppers, are there online versions of these outlet stores that you can just sit in your computer and get the deals?
Yeah, and we detail that in the study, and it's off the top of my head, Nordstrom Rack definitely has an online outlet, and J.Crew, Banana, and those are the 3 off the top of my head, but if you check our listings, you'll get all the details. But some of them do.
Well, Jen, it was fun shopping with you. Jen Barger is the content director at checkbook.org. Now I know why you're all so fashionably dressed.
Yeah, the Nordstrom Rack is right around the corner from our office, and we do partake.
Well, very good. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate all the advice.
Thanks. It was fun talking to you.
Before we go, a few shopping-related Consumer PD episodes you might want to check out. Number 98, the benefits of shopping locally. Number 92, thrift store shopping advice. Number 90, the possible pitfalls of buy now, pay later. And number 85, too much, how we're encouraged to buy. And with that, we're out of time. I hope you'll rate this episode. It's really helpful. And follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Remember, we release new episodes every other Thursday. Here's another way you can support this show. Follow us at Consumerpedia on Facebook and Instagram, at consumerpedia.org on Blue Sky, and at MyConsumerpedia on X. You can find me at consumerman.com. I'm Herb Weisbaum, always looking out for you. Until next time, be smart and shop wisely.
Consumerpedia is a public service of checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that helps you save money and make smarter choices. You can count on Checkbook to help you find the best services and avoid the worst, with local ratings that are accurate and unbiased. If you live in or around these 7 cities and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Minneapolis-St. Paul, Seattle, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. To get your free 30-day subscription, go to checkbook.org/Consumerpedia. Consumerpedia, empowering consumers to save money and make smarter choices.